That was Ted Strickland speaking last night at the Democratic National Convention. The big question, of course, what's going to be on tap for tonight and how is it going to be received? We'll have that and more right here, right now on the News Hub. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Simon Constable, and we're going to go straight down to the one and only Jerry Seib, who's standing by in Charlotte, North Carolina. Before we get to what's happening tonight, how did things go down last night?
Well, I think the Democrats believe they had a good night, and I kind of think they're right. I think they had an interesting sort of bifurcation. There was a lot of red meat early in the evening, a lot of attacks on Mitt Romney, and then they kind of pivoted to Michelle Obama, who I don't think even mentioned Mitt Romney in her speech, and who gave a very personal, and I think by most accounts a pretty effective speech that said essentially the reason for Barack Obama's economic policies is the real-life experiences he and I had as a real couple and a real family. And I think that was delivered fairly effectively. And I don't know what the viewership was, because people haven't exactly been riveted on the conventions in TV land. But I think for those who watched, the Democrats got across the message they wanted to get last night.
Now tonight we have a big cast of characters of very big names, notably Bill Clinton.
Right. I think there are two stars tonight. The first is Elizabeth Warren, the Democratic Senate candidate in Massachusetts, which is probably the most important and most interesting Senate race in the country. She's running against Scott Brown. And then you have Bill Clinton. And they seem like maybe a bit of an odd couple, because Elizabeth Warren is known as a pretty liberal Democrat, and Bill Clinton, of course, was the standard middle-of-the-road, third-way kind of centrist Democrat. But I think they come together in the following way. They both talk to sort of middle-class economic anxieties, and they both talk about people who think that the system has left them on the outside looking in. And what the Obama campaign is hoping, I think, from certainly Bill Clinton and probably from Elizabeth Warren, is a kind of I feel your pain message. We get it. We know that you think the system is stacked against you. We're going to do something about it. And they both are pretty good at delivering that message. Now,
and she has something of a reputation of really standing firm on consumer protection. Notably, the quote I love is you can't sell a toaster that blows up 1 out of every 5 times, but you can sell a mortgage and not tell anyone that it's going to go nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think I'd want to listen to Elizabeth Warren so much tonight. If you're a banker, you might not like what you hear, because she's been pretty tough on the financial industry, and I suspect there'll be a fair amount of that tonight. Bill Clinton won't do that. He's got a slightly different view, and they'll probably be different in that sense. But as I said, I think the message that the Obama people want to get across is to an audience that's not been necessarily all that strong for them, which is kind of white, middle-class, working-class voters, some of whom moved away in 2008, some of whom are wavering now. They need to hold those people in there. They don't necessarily have to win that constituency, but they have to do well enough in that constituency so their advantages elsewhere, among other demographic groups, can carry the day.
Now, we've also got Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. He's the chair of the Democratic National Convention Committee. Very quickly, what do we expect from him?
Well, I think you're going to. There's a mayor's expected, much more practical, much more kind of rooted in the real world. And look, there's another voice for Hispanic voters, and you're going to see a lot and hear a lot of them this week in Charlotte, much as you did last week in Tampa.